Good morning, everyone in Turtle Land. This is Jordan Gray, Communication and Outreach Coordinator with the Turtle Survival Alliance, and I am extremely excited for this webinar today. Now, we are continuing our TSA Around the World webinar series where we're taking you all around the world to the different range country programs that the Turtle Survival Alliance and our partners make a positive impact for tortoises and freshwater turtles. If you caught last week's webinar, you might have noticed that we talked a little bit about the North American Freshwater Turtle Research Group expanding to this beautiful and well-known country of Belize, a country often thought of for its jaguars, its beautiful diving holes off the coast, and for us at the PSA and the Belize Foundation for Research and Environmental Education, we think of it in terms of Hicketts, or the Central American river turtle. I am really, really grateful to have with me the staff of the Belize Foundation for Research and Environmental Education. They do incredible things on behalf of conservation in Belize, as well as for the Central American river turtle. Don't worry, you very soon are going to get to see some of these critically endangered turtles. You might even see one of those birds in the background that is chattering away, thinking that it was invited to this webinar. But you know what? All wildlife is invited to join our webinars. Really quick, before I get started with the introductions of the staff of Be Free, I would like to take the time to talk about our 18th annual and first ever symposium on the conservation and biology of tortoises and freshwater turtles. This year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are making this a truly global symposium. That being said, we are only less than 1 week away from your abstracts being due. We would love to hear about your work on behalf of tortoises and freshwater turtles around the world, but we won't be able to do so unless you get those abstracts in. So please, get your abstracts in by the end of the day. Monday, June 8th, gives you a few days away. And there, I'm done with that shameless symposium plug. So let's get started by introducing our staff. Of course, let's get a big wave from all of our staff in Belize there. Okay, big wave. Oh, look at that. Those are some bright, shining, turtle-loving faces. This is coming to you straight from the Belize Foundation for Research and Environmental Education, deep in the heart of the Belizean jungle. So I first want to start with the introduction of Jacob Marlin. So Jacob Marlin is the director of Be Free. Jacob has been working with reptiles for over 40 years, including U.S. federal, state, and local agencies, and has worked at several zoos across the U.S. prior to founding Be Free. His interests have focused primarily on venomous snakes and crocodilians, with a particular focus on the reproduction and behavioral aspects of arboreal pit vipers. I hope Jacob has an arboreal pit viper that might, slither out of his hair at some point during this broadcast. Yeah, oh! He tricked me personally. So Jacob has been directing operations of the Hicketts Conservation and Research Center, a collaborative conservation between the TSA and Be Free, since its inauguration in 2012. And Jacob is there. Jacob, you want to give a wave so everybody knows who you are? Oh, there he is.
Morning, everybody.
All right, what a handsome man. All right, to his right, or your left, we have Heather Barrett. Heather Barrett is the Deputy Director of Be Free. Heather has worked at Be Free since 2011, focusing primarily on strategic planning, board development, marketing, and public relations, as well as managing Be-Free staff. So to those gentlemen to my right, she really puts the whip down on them. All right. Heather has participated in every biannual Hecate Health Assessment since they began in 2014, as well as attending and speaking at several PSA IUCN symposiums over the years. She leads the outreach and education aspects of Be-Free's work on behalf of critically endangered Hecate turtles in Belize. Next, on the end of the table, in a very beautiful TSA field shirt, we have Tom Popp. Tom is the manager of the Hecate Research and Conservation Center. He's managed that since 2012, and Tom is responsible for the daily care and management of the turtles, maintenance and care of the facilities, as well as collecting data for research purposes. Tom traveled to the U.S. for the first time last year for the 17th annual symposium in Tucson, Arizona. And last but not least, with his amazing Hecate t-shirt on right there, that's right, Jonathan showing off his Hecate pride. That is Jonathan Dubon, Be-Free Science and Education Fellow. Jonathan is a recent graduate from Independence Junior College with an associate's degree in natural resource management. Jonathan traveled to Be-Free on a field course in 2019, and he returned as a volunteer a year later to support the 2020 Fall Hecate Health Assessments. He was then hired last week for a full-time fellowship position with funding from the Turtle Survival Alliance to support the work there at the Hecate Research and Conservation Center. So let's all give a virtual round of applause for these amazing conservation biologists, outreach and education promoters, and turtle lovers. All right, so I think first off, before we get into the questions to our viewers, as well as to this panel of turtle lovers, why don't you all show some turtles? And Heather was actually updating me on some really, really exciting news as we were setting up for today's webinar. So I will let you all take that away with the introduction of this turtle.
All right, so we have 208 eggs that were laid this year by our captive Hecates, and as of May 26th, the first one hatched, and in the past couple of days, a lot more have pipped, and so we were going to carry over a set of eggs to show you what they look like when they're pipping, but on the way they all hatched, and so what we have to show you are a lot of turtles that just came out of eggs. And so Eduardo, who is sitting out of the camera's view, but is very helpful to us, is going to show you. Tell us if you can see it, Jordan.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. So everybody watching, those are Central American river turtles, a critically endangered species, hatching right now as we speak. I mean, basically, Heather's aura induce these turtles from coming out of their eggs. So
yes, we'll call
an incredible moment on live TV.
Yes, they really want to see you guys. Okay, great. So we're gonna maybe put this one down and show you what I was intending to show you. So we brought a second set, and these are a little more pre-hatched. So you see them poking out. This one, its little foot is out. You see its little face. So anyway, these will probably come out later today, if not during this hour.
That is so cool. Everybody, are you seeing this? This is live hatching of Hecates, Central American river turtles. So, I mean, what an amazing experience to share. So thank you very much for showing everybody those
Yeah.
hatching hickatias.
We'll take a look maybe later and see what else has happened.
We'll see how much they've grown over the hour.
Yeah, they might even be subadults by the time this is done. If this turns out to be the length of my normal webinars, most likely they'll be of breeding age.
Quite possibly.
All right, so I have a lot of people that are typing in about loving seeing those babies, so that's awesome. We're so glad we got to share that with you. Okay, we know we're in Belize right now, but my first question is to the audience. Okay, so audience, this is time for your interaction. Feel free to type it into your message board. So my question is, what countries is the Hecate, the Central American river turtle, native to? And so we'll give a little Jeopardy moment for everybody as we wait for some of your expert guesses. This is also, remember, it's Thirsty Thursday as always. So I am here, don't worry everybody, back with my Coca-Cola Zero, a mini can. Jacob, what do you have in there?
Privileged information.
All right, a potent potable is what I would take for privileged information. Okay, that's how we do it in turtle conservation, folks. We'll give you all a couple minutes to type in some answers as to what countries you think the Hecate is native to, and then Jacob will confirm if those answers are right, and then he's going to tell us about the uniqueness of this turtle, including its natural history. So to all of our staff in Be Free, we are on a slight time delay because we use a third-party app. However, StreamYard, we love you. You all have set up an amazing platform to be able to share our love of turtles across the world. Doesn't mean there's not a time delay. So maybe I'll ask some questions to our staff really quick. Tom, what's your favorite species of turtle?
What's that?
What's your favorite species of turtle?
I guess Hecate.
Oh, what a good answer, man. All right. Jonathan, what's your favorite species of turtle?
I'd say the same.
Oh, Hecates, okay. Jacob, you're next.
Well, I guess it has to be Hecate, Jordan.
All right, Heather, are we going to make it a unanimous Hecate?
I am, but I'm going to say baby Hecate.
Oh, the baby Hecate. Okay, so we have Hecates in general across the board. All right.
Yes.
Obviously, it is the favorite turtle of those in Belize. But Heather went full-blown baby Hecate.
Exactly.
All right.
Should we show you while we're waiting?
Yeah, please.
One right here.
Of course, Peter Paul Van Dyke signs in. Geez, Peter Paul, give some people who are, I don't know, not professional turtle conservationists a chance to answer. Oh, look at that. So Ashley Whittemore guesses Mexico. Excellent guess, Ashley. Rodney guesses Guatemala and Mexico. Any other guesses before I don't know, let Peter Paul all right, one more second, one more guess. Nobody else wants to answer now that Peter Paul has chimed in. By the way, Peter Paul Van Dyke is with the Global Wildlife Conservation and the IUCN Tortoise and Freshwater Turtle Specialist Group, one of the most renowned turtle biologists and ecologists in the world. So once Peter Paul chimes in, everybody goes silent. Peter Paul! All right, so Jacob, does Peter Paul, Ashley, and Rodney have the correct answers of Belize, Guatemala, Mexico, and a slight chance of Honduras?
They do. The slight chance of Honduras, I don't believe that it's ever been confirmed there, but Peter Paul could correct me. But certainly the species is found in the coastal lowlands of northern Guatemala, southern Mexico, and a large portion of Belize.
All right, excellent. So thank you all who chimed in and guessed, and thank you, Jacob, for answering. Now, Jacob, let's get on to what is the uniqueness of this turtle and what is its natural history?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Jordan, and a big shout out for TSA to putting this webinar together. We're delighted to be here. I'm very thankful that we're participating in the conservation of the species and working with a great partner like TSA. So the Central American river turtle is a large freshwater turtle species that, like I said, is found in the coastal lowlands of northern Guatemala, southern Mexico, and Belize. It is the last of its kind. So it's the lone surviving member of an ancient lineage of turtles dating back about 65 million years. So it's what scientists consider a monotypic species. It's the only living member of its family, not just of its genus. So it's not related directly to any other species of turtles going up its evolutionary, up its phylogenetic tree. So once the Hecate is lost, it's lost forever, and there's nothing else like it on the planet. The species lived through, or the species or its family lived through the dinosaur extinction era. So it is really a living fossil. It's another way to describe it. It is also critically endangered, as I'm sure most of you know, and is considered one of the top 25 most endangered species of turtles and tortoises in the world. What's unique about the species, there's actually many things that are very unusual about this particular species. For example, this species, being fully aquatic, almost never comes onto land at all. Most freshwater turtles will venture onto land to deposit eggs. This species mostly does not. So it's always in the water. In fact, as part of its reproductive biology, it deposits its eggs under the surface of the water most of the time, right on the edges of the land, but just under the surface of the water. So it literally deposits its eggs in moist, wet cavities, or even under the surface of the water, where those eggs incubate for a very long period of time. So the eggs go through what's something called an embryonic diapause, which is like a stagnant period, where development pretty much slows down or almost ceases for weeks or even months. So the gestation period, the incubation period of this turtle can go on up to, it's been measured up to 300 days, almost a year.
Wow.
These many species of reptiles, it's 60, 70, 80 days or something more on that line. So, so those are kind of unusual traits. The species also can absorb oxygen underwater. Similar to a fish, doesn't have the same apparatus, does not have gills, but it's got highly vascularized organ in its gula region, in its throat, that can absorb oxygen. They can also come up to breathe normally. But the species can stay underwater and get oxygen as long as the water is highly oxygenated for very, very long periods of time. I don't think any of us know how long. Certainly minutes, maybe hours, maybe longer. Nobody knows. So that's pretty unusual. It's fully its diet is it's a strict vegetarian. So it does not eat any meat or at least not on purpose. It might pick up some insects in the leaves that it eats. But being strictly vegetarian, it's a grazer, almost like a cow. It's constantly feeding, looking for plants to eat, or algae, all types of aquatic plants or leaves that have fallen from the forest trees. And so it's strictly vegetarian, which is also a little unusual for a freshwater turtle. There's just so many interesting, unique things about the species. We're learning more and more all the time. I would be open to any questions at some point along the way if anyone has any more questions about its natural history.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the world's most fascinating taxa of turtles, and definitely one worth saving. So we actually have a question that kind of goes a little later into our segment, but Mike Hasselbring asks, how old are the turtles when you return them to the wild?
Well, that's a great question, Mike. We are just this year planning to release turtles into the wild for the first time. So this year we hope to be releasing both some 3-year-old turtles, which we have one we can show you.
Yes.
Actually right now if you'd like. And we also will be releasing, we plan on releasing, though none of this is confirmed yet, hatchlings from this year, those very same turtles that you saw hatching out of the eggs. So we plan on doing a variety of different age classes that we're releasing. This is a 3-year-old turtle that was captive bred and born here. So we'll be some of these turtles hopefully in the coming months.
Maybe let's.
Oh man, that is a cutie. Now, did you say is that a male or a female?
We don't know its sex.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know its sex until much later.
Another aspect about the turtle, just in terms of its physical appearance, is that once they reach sexual maturity, which we believe is around 16 years, they start to show their physical traits of maturity, and males exhibit a brightly colored, the top of their head is brightly colored yellow or yellowish green or somewhat olive, but usually pretty bright yellow, sometimes almost orange, whereas females' heads are generally grayish or brownish. Males have much larger tails, so they're sexually dimorphic by color once they achieve maturity. But as they're young, you really can't tell the difference at all. They seem to be, both sexes seem to be pretty identical in appearance.
Right, and with, you say 16 years of age estimated until sexual maturity, that for a tropical species, that's quite a long generation time, which then brings us to our next question from Mary Dierico is, what is the lifespan of a Hecate?
Well, I think the longest recorded known individual is in captivity, or was, I believe still is, which was 45, almost 50 years. So I wouldn't be surprised if they lived longer than that.
Right, so it's one of these species that some of the natural history in the wild, especially with regard to lifespan, is still under research. There's still things we don't know about this turtle, but it's definitely part of an initiative that the Belize Foundation for Research and Environmental Education, in collaboration with the TSA and Missouri State University, is working to find out more of these natural history traits. Again, so on that note of releasing the animals, Jim Alger asks, are you microchipping them prior to release?
Yes, all the turtles will be both notched as well as pit tags placed inside them. Yeah.
All right, excellent. All right, my next question, and this is back to the audience, so we'll have our next time to maybe show some turtles to the screen for the staff there, but to the audience, what do you all think, and remember this is a critically endangered species, what do you all think is the primary cause for the decline of this species? So we'll give you all a couple minutes to send in your answers. In between then, I know you always enjoy my Jeopardy music made by yours truly, but also another good chance if you have any other turtles that you want to bring up and show close to the camera, good
Tom,
time for that because people love their turtles.
Okay, Tom and Jonathan are about to show you a couple of the adults that
turn the computer. No, I got it.
that we brought from the
We're gonna just do a little.
pond this morning. So we have a couple of adults to show you, both an adult male and an adult female, and you can see.
We're gonna move away from our set so that you can
All right. Oh, wow. This is everybody. This is a very, very rare chance to watch live video of adult Central American river turtles.
Yeah.
So,
So Jonathan,
yeah.
the male, you can see. I don't know how well you can see it. Should I move in?
There we go. Looks good. So, Jonathan, which sex do you have there?
It's a male. You can
All
tell
right.
color of the head, like Jake mentioned before.
And the tail as well. You could show them.
and the tail.
It has a very large tail. And it's smaller than the female. These are both adults. So
Yeah, this one is a female, have a small, shorter tail, but bigger body, and the head is brown grayish.
how much does that weigh, Tom?
Oh, I would say maybe 40, 45 pounds. Yeah.
40, 45 pounds? How about yours?
Maybe like 20 pounds.
Yeah, not that big.
This
Can
one's-
Jordan you see that really well? Do you want to?
Yeah, it looks great. And maybe if Jonathan, if you want to bring the male's head close to the camera so everybody can see how they display that sexual dichromatism. What a beautiful animal. And notice, everyone, how these turtles, they're very heavy in their body weight. Unlike a lot of turtles, when you pull them out of the water, notice they're not sticking their heads straight up. This is a turtle that is perfectly designed for living underwater for almost all of its lifespan.
Okay.
Absolutely incredible. And we have some people that are, everybody's coming in talking about how cool these are, and we're also getting answers in about what their primary cause of decline is. And right now, Jacob is checking out the foot on this female. What do you see, Jacob?
What I'm showing you is how webbed and powerful their feet and legs are. These guys are extremely powerful animals and have very muscular legs and feet and can move very, very fast underwater. So I'm just showing you their adaptation as a really fast swimmer and mover, because they'll move up and down these river systems and up and down these lagoons, and they're just very powerful animals.
So not only do you make your staff do CrossFit every day just to be able to handle these turtles, but you also require them to swim up to 100 laps per morning in chasing them for research, correct?
Correct. Yes. That's for the webinar.
Yes. They have quite a regime there for these turtles. The staff are basically frogmen. They are the U.S. Navy SEALs of the special forces of the turtle world. All right. Well, thank you all for showing us those turtles. Absolutely fascinating. Oh, and now we have a baby coming in, a little hatchling, just to compare the size of the hatchling to the adult, and off it goes. The babies obviously have Superman-like qualities.
All right.
All right. So regarding the question of decline, Emily says habitat loss. Anna says habitat loss or water pollution. Rodney says hunting. David Marlin says predators. Mary Dierico says poaching. Aaron says loss of habitat. Emily says, look at those big boys. Rodney then also asks how old those two turtles are. And Clinton says, Tom Pop, you are my hero. And then the last question is, and so we have several kind of different ones, is Mike Hasselbring then asks, how many pairs of adult Hecates do you keep? So let's go back to the primary cause for decline. So we have hunting, we have habitat loss, we have pollution, we have predators, we have poaching. Of those, what would you say is the primary cause for their decline?
So all of them are correct, basically. The pollution and habitat loss. But here in Belize, they're actually a delicacy. So the main cause for their decline here in Belize is actually hunting. Back in the day, my mom told me stories because my mom actually tasted turtles before he could eat turtles. This was back in probably the 70s or 80s. People would catch them to eat them because there weren't many stores around where you can just go and buy chicken or pork or whatnot. So at one point it was, a part of everyone's diet. But where they went wrong was when they started to see it as they started to see the money. So instead of, catching a turtle to feed their family, they started to catch a bunch of them to sell to make money, and that's where it all went wrong.
So a common scenario that we see not only with turtles but with wildlife is a shift from subsistence hunting to hunting for luxury, basically.
Yep. Basically.
All right. The next question that Rodney asked was, those two turtles that you just showed, the adults, how old are those about?
Well, we don't know because those were animals that were confiscated. The Belize government fisheries department confiscated those animals and then provided them to our center. So we don't know their age.
Okay.
But that female is it's the largest animal we have, isn't it? Is that the largest female?
Yeah.
It is. So it may or may not be the oldest.
So it's probably 30, 35,
Yeah.
maybe older, but we don't know.
Wow. Okay. And then the last question from Mike was, how many pairs do you keep in the breeding colony?
We don't have them in pairs, but we have it's almost, I would say, maybe 16 males, and we have about 20 females in there. We don't have them in pairs because the males intend to fight, because that's what we see in the pond. So we just try to keep at least 5 males in each pond so that they can meet with the female. So we don't have them in here.
Okay, so for everybody out there, the Hicatee Conservation Research Center on Be Free has large ponds that house breeding groups of individuals. So, like they're saying, they're not separated into pairs, but instead into these large communal groups, which helps increase heterozygosity of the managed breeding, as well as decreases aggression between the males. All right, so awesome. Thank you very much for that answer. So the next question is, this is to, we kind of just talked about the primary cause of decline for the Hicatees, and Jonathan, thank you very much. And it's fascinating for you to be able to give us some of those anecdotal accounts of Hicatee capture for consumption, and then now seeing it as poaching for a delicacy, commodity, or luxury item. So thank you very much. Jacob, all right. How did Be Free get started in Hicatee conservation? Can you tell us the history there?
Sure, of course. Be Free has been, we've been working in Belize for going on 3 decades now. And our work often is landscape level. conservation work, but it's also sometimes species or community level. My background, as you mentioned in the beginning, is the love and passion for reptiles and amphibians, and so though we hadn't worked with turtle species here much historically, about 2010, Rick Hudson, president and founder of the Turtle Survival Alliance, who I've known from my early years working in zoos in the United States and Texas, back in the early 90s, contacted me. Knew through a friend of ours, Rich Zarelli, that I was down here and I'd started to be free. And so Rick contacted me and asked whether I knew anything about Hecate and if there was any ongoing work in the country for the species. And I brought him up to date, which was that the answer was basically no, nothing active. And so Rick came down and we had a discussion. And we started talking a lot about what could be done. And I brought him to some government officials, fisheries department, and other departments. And we started meeting with some of the potential stakeholders, and just to enrich Rick's knowledge of the status of the species, or not the status of the species, but just what was happening or not happening in the country. And that's really how it got started, through our relationship in the past and both of our love for reptiles, turtles, and conservation in general. And that really led to a series of events that's culminated with a large country program that is we're very happy to be part of. The first thing that took place after 2007 when he came down was we all recognized that we didn't know, nobody knew the current status of the species. So the first thing that happened was a countrywide survey done by Thomas Rainwater, Thomas Popp helped, and others, and that took place in 2010. And after that, a big stakeholder meeting, and after that, a series of activities, everything from outreach and funds for law enforcement, and the development of this facility, our breeding center, and then it's cascaded so that there's a lot more partners involved, and the projects just continue to grow.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, it's an incredible project, and one that I know everyone at Be Free and TSA are very, very proud of all the work that's done there. I do have a question that came into you from Sumia Kui. They are one of our regular engagers on our webinars. Is it possible that one day Hecates can be farmed for sustainable food sources to keep local traditions and culinary cultures, or do people prefer domestic items like chicken or pork over the turtles now?
It's a great question, and I would answer it maybe in two ways. One, feasible to farm this species for consumption, for commercialization. It's possible, but it does take a very long time for them to get to adult breeding size. They have relatively small clutches of eggs, 10 or 11 is the average. And they also have very strict requirements. These are large turtles that require a lot of fresh water. Their diet is very particular. You can't just throw in, chopped chicken liver or bananas or something. So they have a very particular diet. They're not an easy species. They don't do well in tanks or aquariums. This is not the kind of species that's easily maintained in a captive setting. We have to do a lot of work in our facility. I wish we could show you. It mimics natural conditions. And so I don't think they would be easy to farm like tilapia or shrimp, for example. But is it possible? I suppose. I don't think it's very sustainable. But
it would also be very expensive, and so it just might not pay off if they're not to a decent, like, you don't eat them until they're this size at least, and that's 10, 12 years old. So I mean, the smaller one that we showed you was 3 years old. That's not really an exciting turtle to eat, I don't think. But I don't know if somebody else can answer.
Yeah. So I think the whole idea of farming is it's not one that's been discounted. We're looking into it, but it may not be the most sustainable. When I say sustainable, it's economically and otherwise. It may not be that sustainable. But I'm not sure what I was going to say next. So there is no but.
That's because you're just distracted by this absolutely beautiful environment in which you live in. There's birds singing. There's still that viper that's somewhere in your hair. I understand.
Yeah, it was a great question. I think this is a viper worm, but we'll show this to you later.
Oh wow, okay.
I think though that the question touches on a sensitive issue, which is people have been. It's a cultural tradition. People have been eating Hecate as long as there's been people, and as long as there's been Hecate. We know that the ancient Maya, from archaeological and genetic research that's been done, were harvesting Hecate from the wild and probably even moving them around to different either man-made or natural aquatic areas, small ponds, to use them as food. I mean, so Hecate, and then in modern days, like Jonathan said, they've become part of the cultural tradition here around Easter. They're a preferred food item in many parts of the country to eat instead of red meat during Lent. And so it is an important part of the cultural tradition here. And the work that we're doing, we're not trying to discount that or say, oh, that shouldn't happen. Our mission at Be Free is to preserve the biodiversity and cultural heritage of this country. So the issue is, as Jonathan mentioned, people are over-harvesting it for commercial purposes, and they're declining as rapidly as they are and heading towards extinction. That's not a sustainable course for the species. So the balance will be, if we can talk about this maybe later, but the balance is to help people understand that this is an important natural treasure. It's an important part of the culture. They serve likely a very important role in the functional ecology of the river systems and lagoons that they're found. And if they were harvested in a sustainable way, like Jonathan said, maybe now and then someone takes one to eat for their family. Right now, you can legally do that in Belize. That maybe they can be sustainably harvested on small scales, just like we do with animals in the States, whether it's deer or others, American alligators, a variety of different things. But the current course and trajectory right now of the species is downward trending fast, and so there's a lot of work to be done to create that balance.
All right, you really, really excellent answer and insights there, Jacob. We have another question going back to those extremely cute hatching Hecates. Chrissy Sardinia asks, can you tell us a little about your incubation protocols for the Hecate eggs at Be Free?
Tom, I'll let Tom answer that one.
Yeah. When we collect the eggs, we actually don't really turn them over when we put them in the vermiculite, because we use the vermiculite to incubate the eggs. We wet the vermiculite, but like I always said, I have learned a couple of things with eggs. When they are bonding, they don't really need to be like people touching the eggs or turning around, because they can easily disconnect and kill that egg. So that's one protocol there. And two, people can actually see it, can explain why you shouldn't touch the eggs, or why you should be gentle with the egg because they are in danger. So that's some of the things that I learned with that, and I may have more, but like we always said, we cannot say everything because we just learning as more as we move on. So that's my answer there.
All right, excellent. And as you all very clearly saw at the beginning of this webinar, the protocols for hatching Hecates are time-tested, tried and true, and they are successful. As we saw, Hecates actually hatching from their eggs this morning right here on the webinar. All right, I have another question coming in from Paul Ratte. Paul asks, the locals on Little Corn Island mentioned Hecate as one of 2 turtles that lived along the coast. Are there different subspecies of Hecate, or is this turtle in Nicaragua a different turtle?
Great question. The word Hecate is really just a general term that different people around parts of the world will use. It's just sort of a just a word for turtle. So it doesn't, Hecate itself doesn't necessarily pertain to the Central American river turtle, Dermatemes, this species here. In Belize, people call it Hecate. But in other countries, someone may call a different species Hecate. So no, in Nicaragua, they're talking about a different species.
Excellent. And also just Paul, to answer, Dermatemes mawii is the monotypic species from a monotypic genus. So there is just one recognized species. Excellent question. All right, Heather.
Yes.
Heather, please describe the Hecate Conservation and Research Center, the staff involved, and who manages the facility.
Okay, that's an easy one. So the facilities, which we wish we could show you, so the HCRC is located on the Be Free privately protected area. So that is 1,153 acres of lowland tropical rainforest, which is where we're sitting right now. But the actual facility is about a quarter mile away, and we don't have Wi-Fi over there, which is why we're hosting you closer to where our Wi-Fi signal works. And interestingly, we are completely off the grid. We are in the forest, 6 miles off the main highway, and so it's quite a trek to get here. And so we produce our own power through solar, and we have internet has in the past not been as good as it is now, so that we actually are able to have this conversation with you live. So that's pretty exciting for us. But so we do have this biological field station, and within it is the HCRC. And so the HCRC is a 3 ponds that include 2 adult breeding ponds with 45 turtles. And then we have a rearing pond that was just added last year that now holds, how many turtles, Tom?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
250.
And so those are the 1 and 2 year olds. And and that's all surrounded by a chain link fence. And it is powered by solar, and the power moves the pump to keep water moving, because it can't be, though they're not the most flowing of ponds, we do have water movement daily as their son to push into the ponds to fill the water, and then it drains out also. So we're trying to replicate natural conditions as much as possible. And it's been, and that's been one of the tricks and the strategies here is not trying to put them in a tank or a concrete bottomed anything. Like, we've tried our best to give them the food supply that they would get in the wild, to create a pond or moving body of water like they would have in the wild, and to create the best conditions. Hecate only live in 1 zoo, maybe 2 zoos in the States right now, and that's because they're so difficult to keep. One is Jacksonville Zoo, which is one of our partners, and the other is Oklahoma City Zoo, though I believe those turtles are still not on display. And I think it's only a total of maybe 4 turtles being kept in the United States. So they historically have been very difficult to raise in captivity. And at our center, the 45 turtles that we started with came from a mixture of confiscations and permitted collections, which is sort of why we have a few more turtles than we actually need for breeding. But we haven't wanted to release them until we can find the right conditions. So we have 45 adults and sub-adults, but they're not all breeding turtles. Also at the facility is a small little research platform where we implement our health checks. We have 2 health checks a year, and we bring in veterinarians, or they come from all over. Shane Boylan has been, from South Carolina Aquarium, has been an amazing partner from the beginning. He's been critical to our project. So has Dr. Isabel Pacat Durand, who runs the Belize Wildlife and Referral Clinic in Belize. And then other people have come in, Elliot Jacobson. I mean, I could start to name a lot of people, but I'm just describing sort of the layout, right? I'm distracted already. But so we have this platform where we actually do the health checks. There is a small facility that holds the well, and the well is how we get the fresh water into the ponds. And so it's a very small and compact facility. Tom and Jonathan are the 2 staff who really manage the day-to-day. Jonathan just started this week. So we're really happy to have him join the staff, and really glad that he's willing to be on camera with us today. Tom is definitely the manager of the facilities. Jacob has been in charge of determining protocols and really making sure that the whole program is a success. So the 4 of us all play a role. Yeah, but it's really Tom and Jonathan who are the backbone for the day-to-day.
All right.
And I do also Jaron Serrano, who worked with the project for 2 years as the Science and Education Fellow before Jonathan. And because of his work with the Hicatee, he was able to get a full scholarship to Jacksonville University, and he's now continuing his undergraduate degree there. So he's not here today, but he's always with this project in spirit. So a shout out to Jaron.
Yeah, very exciting. And just for all the viewers watching out there, I mean, this is an incredible program, an incredible facility, an incredible staff who have taken a small part of the Belizean jungle and turned it into an oasis for wildlife conservation and wildlife awareness. So if you ever get a chance to visit Be Free, I highly suggest it. Coming from somebody who hasn't yet been to Be Free, but let me tell you, just listen to what I say, okay?
You're always welcome, Jordan. We can't wait to get you down here.
Thank you. I can't wait either. Tell my boss. All right, so we kind of went over the next question was to Tom, how many turtles are currently at the HCRC and what reproduction success have you had? We kind of already talked about the number of turtles, but let's focus on that reproduction success. Since this program began, what type of success have you seen breeding this critically endangered turtles in a captive yet naturally simulated environment?
Yeah, when we first started to collect animals, we have our first female that started to make their nest right away during that year, at the end of the year. We thought that we collect all adults to bring to the facility that they can start to breed, but look like we don't know what we are doing at the beginning. So we brought in sub-adults, so we just like waited for a couple of years, and then luckily, like Jonathan says, a lot of people, poachers, are being going around, and fisheries departments are doing their job, so they confiscated a couple, 16 confiscated. 8 of them are undersized, so they released those, and 8 of them that they sent to us. So that's where we started to get the the turtle that are laying eggs already. So during that year, that's when we started to collect a very highly amount of eggs, maybe 16 clutch during that year. So the following year, because we wanted more adult female turtle, so we started to make this documentary for Piketty. So during my time there, I was okay. I said I should take some really good sized turtle to the facility so that we could have a very high amount of eggs every year. You know, because I'm very jealous of seeing people posting, releasing baby turtles. So I said, when we going to start to release turtles? So in my mind, I wanted to get all adult female turtles so that we can see how we can have those amount of turtles. Right now, at this moment, we have at least 16 turtles that are doing well with that. So all the rest are still not yet laying eggs. So like we said, we don't know how long they can get, what's their age they reach until when they start to lay their eggs. But so far we have 16 turtles that I know that they are being good on that.
Excellent. Okay, so yeah, so there's an annual, pretty high annual reproductive output and reproductive fecundity for the species, and a high hatching rate being observed. Somebody asked before about the incubation protocols, and like I was talking about, the incubation protocols that they have there at Bee Free are leading to successful hatchings of the eggs laid at the center.
I could just throw out that of the last 3 or 4 years, we've gotten between 150 and 200 eggs a year. The first couple of years, we had just had 1 or 2 clutches, so 10 or 7, 8 eggs or so a clutch. But on the average, we've gotten about an 80% fertility rate of all the eggs that have been deposited here. And of those fertile eggs, about over 95% have hatched. So we have a super high success hatching rate and a pretty high success fertility rate. Now and then we get a clutch of eggs that's entirely infertile. We don't know why, whatever. But generally, we're having tremendous success in terms of reproduction here, and surprisingly high.
Excellent. Okay.
Here we got a higher number of eggs. I collected 215 eggs this year.
Wow. Awesome. Okay, so we Thomas Rainwater, who, yes, I think you know very well, he just asked, Tom, Pop, what are the primary plants Hecate eat, and is your belly full?
Oh, okay. I think I should show you because I have.
Let me get them for you.
Yeah, sure. I have a couple of plants.
You're going to show what they eat, or you're going to show your full belly? Which one was it?
It's not lunchtime yet. It's my belly starting to get hungry.
By the way, everyone watching, Thomas Rainwater and Tom Pop know each other very well, so just a little bit of friendly rubbing there.
Can you see this plant here?
Yes, very clearly. So what species do we have there?
To my right, this is Picus here, this one here.
Okay.
To my left, this is Cecropia.
Okay.
Fingers to the tip.
And those are native plants to the area that the Hecates would naturally feed on in the wild?
Yes.
Yeah.
And right here, this is the grass, the cow food, and this paspalum, and this is one of the grass that they like as well. And this other plant here is also Picus, but it's the different kind. It's the big leaf one.
Mm-hmm.
So like 2 picos here. That's the difference there.
Okay,
So-
excellent. Yeah.
So I think these plants here makes the Hecate belly full.
And as Thomas Rainwater says, your diet primarily composes of those plants as well. So,
Well,
all right, thank you all for showing. So that goes back to that last question, about aquaculture and how this is a difficult species to be able to propagate. It has very finite needs when it comes to captive husbandry, but the staff at the Belize Foundation for Research and Environmental Education goes to great lengths to be able to feed these animals a proper and natural diet so as to best replicate the conditions that they would have there in the wild in Belize. All right, so next question I have is for Heather. Heather, what are your outreach and education efforts?
We have some great outreach and education efforts that have started as a part of this program, but we've built on some materials and some efforts that were started by other people prior to our jumping on board. Because of our location back in the jungle, it doesn't always make sense for us to be able to be out in the public or in communities. It's hard for us to leave what we're doing here to go and be very visible outward. So in the early years of Hecate work in Belize, and say like 2010 through 2014 or 15, organizations like Tide, these are all Belizean organizations, Tide and Yakshe and Lamini, and with the help of places like Zoo Miami, put together some pretty awesome materials like coloring books and stickers and tattoos, like Hecatoos, they called them. So there were all sorts of, a big push made in that period of time. And then as time went by, those efforts sort of maybe petered out a little bit. But it was at the same time that our project here was growing. And so we really wanted to think about how to keep that important messaging that was already developed in people's minds and build it, but to be able to do it from the jungle. And so we came up with this idea of celebrating October as Hecate Awareness Month. And the first Hecate Awareness Month happened in 2017 with the release of a documentary film called Hope for Belize's Hecate, Central American River Turtle, that was produced by amazing filmmakers and our good friends, Richard and Carol Foster. And so that film became sort of the centerpiece for our very first Hecate Awareness Month. And when we established October as Hecate Awareness Month and October 17th as National Hecate Day, we weren't sure what the response would be. We weren't sure if people would be excited about it. We weren't sure if they would want to join us in these efforts. And because it was a very online push, we put the video on YouTube. Turtle Survival Alliance was huge. They were our major partner throughout this process of making it happen. But we didn't know what the response in Belize would be. And what we learned was people were really excited to learn about this turtle and to see the film and to know that that its cause for decline was actually something that they could do something about. And so we had our first Hecate Awareness Month and then decided when people started asking us, well, what's going to happen in 2018 for Hecate Awareness Month? So we realized that actually people were excited to see it happen again. And then it's been happening every year since then, and we're scheduling it again for this October. And so we've created, in addition to the resources that were made early on, we've added a lot of great materials, and a lot of them are available through our website. And we've also emailed those resources to teachers so that each October we are able to celebrate as a country and have pictures to color and books to read and calendars to look through. And we have a couple of those materials here. This calendar we created with artworks that were done by kids who wanted to save the Hecate. And so we had a national poster campaign, and we got amazing response and a lot of submissions. And the kids featured in this year's poster or calendar were winners. And then a local woman, Gio Martinez, who is an elementary school teacher, wrote this book, Adventures of Purvis the Hecate. And then we made that a centerpiece in our 2018 campaign, helping her to distribute that book and share her own message about why, this little turtle trying to find a home. Another big piece of our campaign has been the signing of petitions and banners. And this is the our second banner that we've created. There have been others made throughout the country where we ask people when they come to Be Free and visit the HCRC to stand with us for conservation in general and for a species that can't really speak for itself. And so we ask them, okay, if you care about, because you just met this turtle who they get to look at and hold sometimes, and they get to see the project, can you show your solidarity by signing this banner, standing with us in the conservation of this species? And people have been really receptive to that. And we just see this as an effort that's growing and gaining momentum. And kids will tell you that they don't really want to eat Hecate any longer. They're telling their parents not to eat Hecate because maybe they taste good, but it's maybe not the right thing to do right now. So people are paying attention, and we're excited to keep it moving. And it's been really wonderful that we could do it using an online platform. And then people are taking the materials and using them in their homes and classrooms.
Excellent. Yeah, I know you all have an amazing educational outreach program there at Be Free, and especially for the Hecates. So a challenge to all those watching out there, come October, show your Hecate pride, both on the Be Free and TSA websites and social media. There will be a lot of promotions for you to share about Hecate Awareness Month, National Hecate Day, and the Save the Hecate campaign. So it's months away, but I challenge you now to get involved come October.
Yeah. And Jordan, I also want to just say a special thanks to our coworker, Tyler Sandville, who has been instrumental in all of our communications and has been my major partner for Hecate Awareness Month. She's in the States, but her heart is always with us, and I couldn't do it alone, and I couldn't do it without her. So a special thanks to Tyler.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge shout out to Tyler, who spends much of her time now with mittens and a knit cap on up there in Michigan while you all soak up the sunshine in Belize. All right, next question. Jacob, is there local support to conserve this species besides the educational awareness that Heather was just talking about?
I would say undoubtedly yes, because whether it's a hunter, a Hecate hunter that I've spoken to and asked them, do you want to save the species? They say, of course we do. Or whether it's the government of Belize, the Belize Fisheries Department, very much is dedicated, committed from an administrative or authoritarian level to conserve the species. Whether it's children that we speak to that recognize, who we fall in love with this. So everyone loves turtles, and everyone in Belize loves turtles. I don't know any people out there that hate turtles, right? And so there's broad support for conserving the species. The questions are, how do you do that while possibly maintaining the consumption? And so even when we come across people out in the field during survey work that might be hunters, and we talk to them. They're like, look, of course I want to see Hickory around. I don't want to be the person to harvest the last Hickory. You know, and so you get broad support. There's no question. I think in a small country like Belize, with less than 400,000 people, about half of them under the age of, 18 or something like that, with a really healthy environment, very little poverty, and a very, very rich and healthy natural environment where habitat loss is really not a major driver of most species declines, and a government that's very supportive of conservation work. Belize is a great, offers great opportunity, probably the best chance to survive for future generations. And I think if we all work together, we can help this species live for many future generations. And I guess the only thing I'd add to that is that because the species is large, probably has occupied a pretty important role within the rivers and lagoons that historically, when it was more abundant before its decline. It's also helping to save the Hickory is also helping to ensure healthy watersheds. The more work that goes towards a species that moves up and down these rivers and lagoons and is a freshwater species, the more attention and focus there'll be on the watersheds of Belize. And watershed conservation spills into the forests, because watersheds include not just the rivers, but the forests that drain into those rivers. So Hickory as a species, even though it's a single species effort, the work that we're going to continue to do with TSA and other partners, I'm hoping that as the years continue, will broaden the scope beyond just the species, but into broader landscape work, which helps preserve all wildlife and also helps create healthy environments for communities and people that live it up and down these watersheds. So it's good for not just the species, but for all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was an excellent answer. And it's really just, when you work to conserve some of these species, especially things that might be considered megafauna, and in Belize, your most widely known megafauna is probably the jaguar, but you also have animals like the Hickory and others. Because these are all animals part of these ecosystems, conservation efforts, for one, very oftentimes trickles down to helping others within the ecosystem as well as the ecosystem itself. So that was really great point you made there, Jacob. All right, Tom, back to you, Tom. All right. What is the most interesting thing you have learned about the Hickory? You work with them every day is a learning experience. What has stuck out in your mind?
The interesting thing with the Hickory that I learned, I never knew what's Hickory. So first thing, I learned how Hickory look like, and so I started to work with them. And the interesting thing that when they said they lay eggs, but where? So I had to figure it out myself, how these animals moving around. I was so happy that I'm the first person that find a clutch of egg in 2014. So I was so excited, and I don't know what to do with it. So I find it. I just I see a couple holes, but I said maybe 4 or 5 test holes. But I've been calling them as a nest, but they haven't put their egg there. But I thought they're coming back to put their eggs in that test hole, but it's not. So when they do their test hole, so they come up and make their actual nest and deposit their egg there. So that's the egg. exciting thing for me. My first clutch of eggs I collected, it's not in the water, it's a little bit off water. So that's how I managed to find that egg. But as years goes by, I started to learn things differently from these animals because not all turtles they will deposit their egg on the dry ground. They always go below the surface on the edge of the bank. So every year, I know when turtle will start to lay egg because I have learned their season when they start to make their test hole, and I can tell when they actually will deposit their egg. So when I first get my first clutch of egg, I don't know how to collect eggs. So I just did my own idea because I thought turtle eggs is like a bird egg. You know, you can just like pick it up and turn it around. I did that myself, you know. But afterwards, I made a call. I did tell Jacob that I find a clutch of egg. So, but nobody advised me how to collect eggs. So that's the thing. I don't know nothing about the eggs. But luckily, they are so strong, I believe, because maybe I'm the dad, maybe. So when I collect eggs, I always like turn them around because that's usual for me, like bird's egg. But after a week or two or so, then I guess Rainwater called me or I messaged Rainwater, and then he told me, did anyone give you an idea how to collect eggs? And then I told him no. And then it's not your problem, but anyway, I will let you know. You see, when you collect the egg, you shouldn't turn them around because you can kill them. That's what he told me. So and then I said, well, probably all eggs are dead by now because I told him that I turn all the eggs around and then I wash them really good because it's my first clutch of egg. But
Excellent.
luckily, the eggs managed to hatch, the 7 of them. So I did not kill. So that is my first experience, my learning lesson from there.
Yeah.
And as time goes by now, I know what to do, how to collect eggs. I actually I'm trying to learn their behavior during their nesting season.
All right, excellent. So, first off, you learned what a Hecate was. I know many people in turtle conservation who do research in conservation now, in which just learning about the turtle was their first part of their experience. Also, really quick, I do want to apologize. I've been getting notes of feedback, which I can hear. And just so you all know, again, we are having a conversation between two different countries, and then it is streaming to YouTube. So most likely there is going to be some feedback, and I apologize about that. There's not much we can do regarding that. But thank you very much, Tom, for telling us about your experience there. Let me see. So, Jonathan, before your first visit to the HCRC, were you aware of the decline of this species? You gave us some anecdotal accounts before.
Yeah, so I basic about it. I knew about Hecate, but I didn't really know how it looked and stuff. Like my mom told me some stories, and so I basically knew that it was a freshwater turtle and the numbers were declining, but that's all I knew. But here I've learned a lot of stuff. Collecting eggs. Tom taught me how to collect eggs because the last time I was here, we found the clutch. So now I know how to collect eggs properly from the man himself. Yeah, I didn't really know much about Hecate before I got here, honestly. Like, I just knew basics, and
And a fun fact too is a lot of local bands here in Belize, they used to use turtle shells as instruments. So, you know, I can recall one time we were in Punta Gorda. We were having a family dinner at a restaurant, and there was a live band there, and the guy was randomly playing turtle shells. So, you know, like that's all I really knew about Piggy. I didn't really know much.
Okay.
So they use the shells for instruments as well, percussion.
And now you're involved with the conservation of one of the most critically endangered species. So it's a good path you're on. Let me see. To Heather. Other than Be Free and TSA, naturally, who are the other organizations involved and have helped in your conservation efforts? Because, of course, we can't all do this alone, and it's so important to recognize those that have helped our organizations along the way to the goal of zero turtle extinctions.
We've had a lot of help along the way, and it's a project that's reaching over 10 years since Hickathee work began in Belize. So there were a lot of partners early on, and I mentioned some of them earlier. And then more recently, we've had some real incredible partners with some zoos. Jacksonville Zoo and Gardens has helped us with some funding and has been present, sent staff at a number of health checks. We have worked with New England has become a recent partner. Oklahoma City Zoo has been a partner. Then we've some university partners who are very interested in research. University of Oklahoma, Missouri State University. Some in-country partners, our Belize Wildlife and Referral Clinic. Dr. Isabel comes and does veterinary checks on our turtles. South Carolina Aquarium, like I mentioned, Shane Boylan comes down. The Belize Zoo has been a partner with a variety of things. Crocodile Research Coalition has helped with outreach. That's also a Belizean organization. We have schools in Belize who have helped a lot. Independence Junior College has been bringing groups, Abigail Parham has been bringing groups for years to come and learn about our conservation efforts, including the Hickathee. Been a big champion of ours and a great partner. She's helped us with outreach in the past. So has Park Junior College, Ingrid Rodriguez. The list goes on and on. Who?
Santa Fe Teaching Zoo in Gainesville, Florida, supported our work.
Yes, Jacob was a graduate from there, and they've been a big supporter.
And different organizations like the Columbus Zoo supported this program through TSA and Bachelor Foundation, Turtle what's it?
Turtle Conservation Fund.
Turtle Conservation Fund supported the work here. It's a very, very long list of organizations, individuals, institutions, universities.
University of Florida. Elliot Jacobson, Nicole Bishop has done research here. It's been amazing. When we've asked for partners, people have done their best to step up, and we really appreciate it. And we need the help that they're able to give us. Like, we're a small staff, we're in a remote area. The ways that people have helped are critical to us being able to continue our work every day. And we'll be asking for help again. And so, hopefully there'll be ways that even more people can become involved. And
Excellent.
if I forgot, it's because I'm running through the list in my head and I was doing it by category. So I may think of you later and maybe I'll shout it out.
I'm sure they forgive you. But yeah, no, it's just the truth of the matter is, to make these conservation programs happen, it really takes a community to come together, providing support of various types and from various angles. And it's created quite a successful conservation initiative for this critically endangered turtle there in Belize. By the way, Jacob, you got a good shout out from your parents. They'd say, "This is so impressive, and we are so proud of our son, Jacob Marlin." Thank all of you for this webinar, Jackie and David. So,
Love you, folks.
yeah, I love it. Don't worry, Jacob. On my webinars, my mother chimes in regularly. Okay, so for my last question, this is to Heather. How can someone get involved to support your conservation efforts? And we talked about this some when we were referencing National Hickory Month and Hickory Day, but do you want to give a directive?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. And thanks for asking. So there are a number of ways you can support, and one could be, take part in one of our health checks. They happen in September and in late February. We get teams of volunteers and people from zoos who come down and help us take out every turtle that we have and assess its health. We measure it, we weigh it, we give adult female ultrasounds. Like it's an amazing hands-on experience, and we never have enough hands. So it's great. We love it. It's a great experience. And we always love for people to come down and help us out. So that's one way. If traveling is not an option for a lot of people, especially right now, then during Hickory Awareness Month, yes, please share information about the Hickory, whether it's information that we put online or TSA has online, or make your own. Support turtle conservation in general. Talk about why turtles matter. It's just caring about animals and talking about it is what will make a change. And it's not just October, Hickory Awareness Month, it's really all the time. But it's fun to have a month or a day where we can all come together and celebrate. So I'd say look out for resources online to be a part of that and share away. We really appreciate that. And then another thing you can do is donate to Turtle Survival Alliance and say it's for the Hickory in Belize, or donate to Turtle Survival Alliance for any of their amazing projects. That the organization is doing great work. We wouldn't be here doing this if it weren't for their commitment. So thanks, Jordan, and thanks to the whole team. Rick has been just unbelievable throughout. So has Andrew. You guys are incredible, and we want anyone who's watching this webinar to recognize that TSA has been an amazing partner. Your work is big, and we're happy to be one of the projects that help promote your work.
Well, thank you very much, and vice versa. I mean, a huge thanks from TSA to the staff of Be Free. Now we'll just get to a back and forth of tears flowing about everyone's efforts. No, it's great though. But maybe not Jacob. He doesn't actually cry. He's never shed a tear in his life, from what I hear. Yes, of course. Thank you all very much. So we're going to wrap this up with letting any audience members that are watching and still have questions. We've had a lot of questions throughout the webinar, but this is a chance for them to ask questions. While we wait for any questions to come in, some final inquiries, I think this is a good chance to show off some turtles. If you have some, unless they've swam back into the river or the pond.
We're going to see if any of the eggs have hatched.
Well, actually they did, and they all buried themselves.
Okay. Hey, so everybody, if you didn't see the beginning of this webinar, we started out with Hickory eggs actually in the process of hatching, like live hatching right here on this webinar. So according to Heather and Jacob, they're actually exiting the eggs. Look at that. So we have baby Hickory, one of the world's most endangered species of turtle, a species that is only known from Belize, Nicaragua, and Belize, Guatemala, and Mexico.
just getting ready to come out of the egg is poking his little yellow nose out.
That is so cool. Look at that. It is not very common that you get to see turtles hatching live.
Timing is everything.
Anyway,
So, yeah.
yep.
And the last group that just hatched out at the beginning of the video have now buried into the vermiculite and are in hiding.
Standard operating procedure, right? So for those of you who are experienced with turtle hatchings, and those of you who may not be, the first instinct of these turtles, once they exit the eggs, is to hide. It is for security. So they will bury down into their incubation medium, which in this case is vermiculite, a very commonly used medium for incubating turtle eggs. And so now they're in hiding. So if there's any last questions, we'll give it just another minute. But while we wait, I just want to say thank you so much to Tom, Jonathan, Jacob, and Heather, who have been an amazing panel. They're taking time out of their very busy schedule to come to you live straight from Bee Free, deep in the heart of the Belizean jungle. All right, so we do have questions now that are flying in from us for Bee Free. All right, and it is actually excellent. So this is probably coming in from Tyler as to how people can support the work at the HCRC. So Tyler, thank you very much for putting that information up. For all of you Hicatee lovers out there, Central American river turtles, these are great steps to your supporting. So, and Rodney's saying thank you all. So I don't think we have any more questions coming in. So let's wrap it up and just say thank you very much for joining us from Belize as we take our trip around the world with TSA. Tune in next week right here at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time as we take you TSA around the world from Colombia. So we're moving south. We're heading south from Belize to a whole new continent, South America, and talking to you all about the efforts on behalf of turtles and tortoises in Colombia. All right. Thank you all very much. And
Thank you, George.
Thank you, TSA, and everybody watching.
yeah, happy Thursday, Thirsty Thursday. All right, see you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice job, everybody.